The story began with a boy named Dexter. At first, he was no different from any other child, but after a blood transfusion, he was accidentally infected with HIV. In those days, people were terrified of the disease. No one dared to get close to him. He could not go to school. He could not go to the park. He could barely even step outside his own house. His entire world was reduced to one small backyard. His life felt as if someone had pressed the pause button. Then one day, a boy named Eric moved in next door. Unlike everyone else, he did not keep his distance. Instead, he climbed over the fence and walked right up to Dexter. That single climb opened the brightest chapter of Dexter's life. The two boys fit together like puzzle pieces that had been missing for years. They loved the same things. They said the same silly jokes. And they laughed as if the world had no problems at all. Eric did not have many friends either. But with Dexter, he no longer felt alone. Two boys the world had overlooked became each other's light. With Eric constantly encouraging him, he finally found the courage to leave the backyard for the first time. The outside world felt strange and dangerous. His body was too weak to walk very far. But Eric was full of ideas. He turned an old tire into a little raft. That river became their secret passage to freedom. Like two explorers, they floated to the grocery store and bought piles of candy. On the way back, Eric pushed Dexter in a shopping cart. It felt as if the whole world had stepped aside for them. But their happiness did not last long. They ran into 3 teenage bullies. The boys mocked Dexter and started picking on Eric. But Eric was not afraid. He clenched his fists and stared them down. One of the bullies got angry and prepared to attack. Eric grabbed a rock and used a trash can lid as a shield. Just as a fight was about to begin, Eric brought up something deeply personal. He said the bully's brother had taken his own life after being humiliated and torn down for too long. Eric said he had lost a younger brother the same way. The air suddenly went silent. The bully froze. He lowered his head and dropped what he was holding. That night, Eric stayed for dinner at Dexter's house. Dexter and his mother had a funny little deal. Every time she scratched her head, he earned 25 cents. That was how he slowly built his tiny savings. But behind her smile, Dexter's mother carried an unbearable sorrow. She knew the illness would eventually take her son away. After watching television, he came up with a scientific solution: the candy cure. His logic was simple. Dexter ate healthy food all the time. Eric ate candy every day and felt perfectly fine. Maybe candy was the secret medicine. So he took Dexter's temperature and mixed together bizarre combinations of sweets: lollipops with gum, chocolate with marshmallows. In the end, Eric was the one who got sick and spent the night throwing up. When Dexter's mother discovered he had spent all his allowance on candy, she grounded him. But when she saw Eric standing sadly outside the window, her heart softened. She let Dexter go because she knew Eric was his only true friend. Still, Eric would not give up. If candy failed, then maybe plants could help. The boys ran into the woods, collected leaves, and boiled them into soup. Dexter drank bowl after bowl. Eric carefully wrote down every result. He looked exactly like a real doctor. Eric's friendship was like a gust of fresh air, blowing into Dexter's gray world. One day at the grocery store, Dexter's mother kissed Eric on the cheek. He froze. Since his parents had divorced, no one had treated him with such warmth. His eyes filled with tears, though he made no sound. That evening, Dexter looked exhausted. The illness had taken a severe toll on him. His mother carried him upstairs. As Eric was leaving, he glanced back and saw Dexter's mother sitting alone on the stairs, her face buried in her hands, her shoulders trembling silently. He knew she was crying. Later, the boys read a magazine article about a plant that supposedly contained a cure. They were thrilled. It felt like hope. Dexter's mother did not believe it. If it really worked, she said, the doctors would have told me. Still, the boys decided to try. They found a plant they had always avoided, boiled it, and Dexter drank the mixture. That very night, an ambulance arrived. He had been poisoned. Dexter's mother desperately demanded Eric's notebook, the one that recorded where each plant had been found. Eric handed it over. When Eric's own mother learned what happened, she scolded him harshly. She blamed him for spending so much time with a boy who had HIV. She even warned Dexter's mother to keep her son away from Eric. Fortunately, Dexter recovered. But Eric's mother decided to separate them by sending Eric to summer camp. Eric could not accept that, so he came up with a bolder plan. He would run away with Dexter and find the doctor who was rumored to have a cure. Dexter hesitated. He worried about his mother. But Eric said, "If you get better, your mom will be happier than anyone." That was enough. They left behind a note and slipped away into the night. After all, they were still just children. Behind their raft, they towed a toy alligator. Their journey was both a search for a cure and the greatest adventure of their lives. Reality hit them quickly. Their current pace It would take 2 weeks to reach their destination. Dexter's medication would only last a few days. They needed another way. Eric finally managed to get them aboard a boat bound for New Orleans. That night, Dexter woke up drenched in sweat. His sleeping bag was soaked. Eric gave him his own dry clothes and switched places with him. Dexter admitted that what frightened him most was not dying. It was waking up alone in the dark, feeling as if he were floating in an endless black universe. So Eric placed one of his shoes in Dexter's hands. Holding that shoe, Dexter fell peacefully asleep. The next day, time was running out. Dexter's medicine was nearly gone. Eric secretly swam back to the boat and took the money he had found earlier. Soon they were chased. They hid inside an abandoned factory, cornered by an angry captain. Eric pulled out a pocket knife, but the man was not intimidated. Then Dexter did something extraordinary. He grabbed the knife and sliced open his own palm. Blood poured out. The captain saw the blood and noticed a cut on his own hand. Suddenly, $300 no longer seemed worth the risk. He turned around and walked away. The danger had passed. Dexter sat on the ground, weak and pale. When Eric tried to bandage his hand, Dexter told him to stay back. He was afraid of infecting his best friend. At the bus station, Eric looked at Dexter, who was growing weaker by the minute. Then he looked at a payphone nearby. With a heavy heart, he called for help. Dexter was taken home. Soon afterward, Dexter was admitted to the hospital. Eric continued to visit him, bringing chocolate, and still dreaming of miracles. Dexter finally accepted the truth. The magazine article had been false. He began drawing memories of their friendship. One day, they played a prank on the nurses. Eric shouted that Dexter had stopped breathing. The nurses rushed in. Dexter lay motionless. Then he suddenly opened his eyes and burst into laughter. The doctor sat beside Dexter. Dexter quietly said, "I know I do not have much time left." The doctor answered, "There are many miracles in this world. You are one of the most remarkable children I have ever met. Maybe you will be one of them." From then on, everyone in the hospital joined their game. Again and again, Eric cried for help. Again and again, Dexter came back to life laughing. Everyone played along, because everyone understood. These might be his final happy moments. Then one day, Eric shouted once more, "He's dying." But this time, Dexter did not sit up. He did not laugh. He lay still, and never opened his eyes again. The miracle never came. Eric lost his best friend. Dexter's mother lost her only child. Eric was finally allowed to attend the funeral. He stood beside Dexter's coffin, unable to say a single word. He simply straightened his friend's tie and touched his cold hands one last time. After the funeral, she noticed that one of Eric's shoes was missing. When she returned to Dexter's room, she found her son holding a shoe in his arms. It was the same worn-out shoe. When she saw that Dexter was missing one shoe as well, she finally understood. Later, Eric went alone to the river they once drifted down together. He knelt by the water, gently touched the shoe, and set it afloat. The current carried it farther and farther away. Dexter was gone, and yet somehow, it felt as though he was still there, drifting freely down the river. This was a children's movie, but it left countless adults in tears. There were no explosions, no special effects, only the clumsy, sincere companionship of two boys. Dexter's mother was gentle and strong, giving her son a childhood without regrets. Eric grew up surrounded by his mother's sadness, lonely and hungry for affection. When they met, they became two mirrors that reflected light back to each other. True friendship was never about staying together forever. It was about carrying the strength of the other person. Long after they were gone, that drifting shoe carried innocence, love, and farewell. It also carried a bond that even death could not break. The best goodbye was never about forgetting. It was about holding on to each other's warmth and finding the courage to keep moving forward.